Hey guys, it's Hannah and welcome back to the Dyslexic Reader. Today is sort of different for a Sunday video. I'm not doing a discussion. Unusual for me, I know, but I couldn't come up with a topic. And Turnip was no good at suggesting a topic. Sure you weren't, Kitty? So, a talkie wrap up it is. How was your reading month? Good? Mine was okay. It was a mix. I had 5-star, 1-star, DNFs, 2 stars, everything. So it sort of put me in a bit of a tailspin. My rating's sort of all over the place at the minute, and I think that's what it is. Possibly the fact that last month was a bit crazy. Kat, I would appreciate it if you didn't knock the camera. No? Okay. So let's just get stuck in with these books. First of all, I read Helter Skelter by Vincent Ruglowski. That's not how you pronounce that name. But this is non-fiction. It is the story. This sunlight is bouncing off my wall. I'm being really reflective. And for some reason I look ghostly pale today. But it's a nice day, so I guess that's a bonus. This is not artificial light, you guys. And I don't even have a window to this side of me. The window's to this side. That's the light bouncing off my white wall. Stop being very cooperative. But anyway, back to the books. Helter Skelter, which is the true story of the Manson murders. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. The start was very interesting, how the murders took place and how they collated the evidence and started making a case, and the end was very good, how it all came together. The middle was the court case, like I'm talking like 400 pages of a court case, which was dry, and I'm not gonna lie, I skimmed a lot of it, and that's not something I normally do, but I gave it a 3 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed the start and the end. The middle was just too dry, but I know that's not because it was bad, it's because that is not my interest. So I think a well-rounded 3-star, and I would definitely suggest this for anyone who has any interest in true crime in general or the Manson family at all. It was incredibly insightful. The second book I read was October Skies by Alex Scarrow. This was a 5-star. It was brilliant. It was no great work of literature, but it was a creepy thriller. It was incredibly well written. It was incredibly atmospheric, and I didn't see all the twists and turns coming, so it was perfect for what I wanted it to do. I have a full review, cat's away now, of it on my channel, and I'll link it so you can go and check that out if you want to know more. This was an absolutely fantastic read that I would recommend to anybody. The third book I read is a very popular children's series, The Search for Wangler. I have been wanting to read this for ages, and I did not like it at all. It was a 1-star for me. I found that the characters weren't engaging, the storyline wasn't interesting, and it relied too heavily on the pictures. I like pictures in a book. Who doesn't like a good picture in a book? But it almost felt to me as if he was not writing full descriptions because the pictures were there, which I feel is a bit of a cop-out. And I also feel like the pictures wrecked the story. So at the start of each, I don't have it now, I gave it back to the library. At the start of each chapter, there was a double spread illustration, which were absolutely gorgeous. But it showed an event in the chapter, but then that wrecked the chapter because they would be like running through the forest and someone would be shooting at them, and they'd be like, oh my goodness, who's shooting at us? But the double spread at the first page of the chapter had showed who was shooting at them. Do you know what I mean? So for me, the pictures completely wrecked it, and the writing was bad because it relied too heavily on the pictures. Then I read There's a Boy in the Girls' Bathroom by Louis Sachar. This was a 3-star for me because it was mixed. There was aspects that I loved and aspects that I hated. The aspects that I loved were the children. They were so well written. It was so accurate onto like a child's mind, how children think, how they interact, friendship groups, all that. Absolutely brilliant. The thing that let it down for me was the adults. The adults were unrealistic, and no professional would behave in the way that every single professional in the book behaved. Like, it wasn't like they had one bad teacher. Like, all the adults in this book were completely incompetent, and for me that really pulled me out of the story and made it completely unrealistic. But it is definitely something that I enjoyed. It's very insightful into the mind of a child and how a child socializes. If you're having issues with a child who's maybe not making a lot of friends at school, this would be a good book for not only you to read, but to read with the child. And it definitely is something that I would consider reading in the classroom in the future if some of the topics in this came up. My next book was Good Me, Bad Me by Ali Land. This is a, I don't want to say thriller, I'm going to say not even suspense, and it's not really mystery. I don't know how to class it, and I don't want to give too much of the storyline away because I think it could be very easily spoiled. You are reading from the perspective of as a girl. It's almost diary entry, but it's not quite. It's almost like her talking to herself in her head. And you realise very early on that it's a child who is in care because they turned their mother into the police for doing something incredibly bad. And that's sort of where you're left, and then you have to build the picture up. And it's this child's struggle with good me, bad me, wanting to be good, but not only do I have the DNA of a bad person, but I was raised by a bad person. So you have nature and nurture going against you, kind of, but the wanting to be good. So it was sort of an internal struggle. And I found all the characters interesting, all their motivations for what they done interesting, finding out about the mother's backstory and what she had done interesting, and the end twist blew me away. The writing really pulled me in. It was weird, but that sort of worked because it was like the internalization in her head of what was happening rather than just telling you what was happening. And it was incredibly well done, and if I ever see anything by Ali Land again, I will be picking it up. 5 stars, couldn't recommend that enough either. The next one was a DNF, but I want to mention it to you guys because it's something I've been talking about on the channel and mentioned a couple of times and hold and everything else, and I just wanted to let you know I have tried and did not succeed to read any Temperance Brennan books. I picked up Fateful Voyage, which was number 4 in the series, but they're mysteries, you don't have to read them in order. I picked it up primarily because, if you can hear my cat, I am so sorry, she is going berserk. I picked up the book because I love Bones. It's one of my favourite TV shows of all time, and this is the book series that Bones is based on. I don't know how that they could claim that. The main character has the same name, and that's literally where it ends. Her personal situation is different, her work life is different, none of the same characters are in it except like the main character. Her personality is completely different, like it is so different, and the story didn't drag me in. I wasn't a big fan of the writing style, so I DNF'd it. I'm not going to attempt another Temperance Brennan book. And the final book that I read this month was Hello Darkness by Anthony McGowan. This was, I would say, maybe YA. The main character, certainly YA, but the writing style in the story was very juvenile, like it was almost middle grade content as regards to the storyline, but the characters were older and there was some naughty words in there, so I wouldn't give it to a younger audience, but I wouldn't necessarily give it to older either because it was juvenile in its storyline. The storyline was okay, it was very weird, and a lot of times I felt completely lost, and the ending was beyond atrocious. Guys, this was so bad. It's not I woke up and it's all a dream. Like, that's not how it ends, but that's the kind of ending that it does have. And I just stared at the book. I was like, what on earth? Like, I was confused. I actually had to read the last 3 pages about 4 times before I understood what they were really trying to say. And it was not good. I would not recommend this to anybody. And I certainly won't be reading any more of Anthony McGowan's work, that's for sure. Well, my cat is now going berserk. I don't know what is wrong with her. So we're going to check out and say goodbye. Say goodbye, Nippy. I don't know what's wrong with it. It's going crazy today. But from me and from Turnip, I hope you're all happy, I hope you're all healthy, and I'll hopefully see you in my next video. Goodbye.